Marty hopes we're doing well. We're doing really well because Clive Christopher's on. That's why we're doing well. So tonight, for the first time, we're on four different streams: YouTube, X, Instagram, and Rumble. And the episode will be uploaded later to Spotify. So you'll be able to see it and like it and whatever you want to do in many different ways. And I'm going to continue to expand this over the next a couple of weeks while I've got a little energy. Clive Christopher is an actor, a producer, a director, an author, and he has been in some interesting things lately. So, Clive, Lala and I are really happy you're here.
Thank
Please tell our audience who you are, and it'll grow. It'll grow to over 200 people tonight. So live, and it'll be seen a lot more after that when people stream it later. But anyway, tell our audience who you are.
thank you for having me. Yes, I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here. Just my name is Clive Christopher, and pretty much with the introduction, I do films. I've started my own business. I've did photography prior to this. I worked on some projects with ESPN, Fox. I was a part of the Fox to Disney merger before I got into film. So,
Wow.
yeah, I just, started with, the background stuff. And now I'm starting to, make my way to the forefront. So I've always been behind the scenes. But now, with seeing me on certain platforms, Netflix and, Prime Tubi and stuff like that, now they're starting to, see the face and learn other things. But once again, and I'm honored and it is a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, it's just it's so I learned a little bit in the last week preparing
Okay.
that of your activities in and around the Phoenix Lights. So you tell us whatever you want to that story, but also tell us how you got on with George Knapp on that show of his that was on Netflix. As I mean, I love George. I know him. He and I interact. If not every day. We're not buddies, but he and I interact. And I knew of Tom King, but that's the first time I'd ever seen his face. So tell us how all of this went down, including the fact that you were at Sky Harbor Airport the day of the event. That's all. It's just amazing, Clive. And you
Yeah.
have a great story. I won't ruin the story. You tell the story you way you want to our audience.
Okay. So how that all unfolded with getting onto the Netflix series Investigation Alien with George Knapp. That actually starts with Tom King, but I I host a sky watching like party here. It's free, and there's certain areas that I go to where the activity is just extremely high. So over the years of doing this, and like I said, getting into film, I came across one of the Phoenix Lights videos that I didn't know was Tom's, and then eventually found out it was Tom's video. So got a hold of Tom, got permission to use this video, and we hit it off, became friends, and just been sharing information. He liked what I was doing. He invited me over to his place, and I saw his command center, which you saw in Investigation Alien. That place is impressive, and he just upgrades it like every month. So what you saw in Investigation Alien, that took about 10 months for it to come out. He had already upgraded it by then, and now he's upgraded it to the point to where you wouldn't even recognize it now as I'm speaking. But one day he calls me and he's like, "Hey man, don't want to give you too much information, but some of the producers of this Netflix show are about to call you." And he, like I said, he didn't tell me exactly what was going on and stuff, but he was just like, "Hey, they're gonna call you. This is what it's about, somewhat, but I'll let you hear it as you go along." So I'm sitting there waiting, almost probably in the same spot that I'm in right now, and I get the phone call. His name is Rick, and he's asking me questions. I hear you doing the sky watch and stuff like that. We want to come in, a UFO hunt. So I'm like, "Hey, cool, not a problem. Come on out." Keep in mind, this is like within days. So we're trying to find a location to shoot. Like I said, I had one, but I wanted to take them to somewhere that was just a little bit more safe. They got equipment trucks. And then not only that, when it comes to sky watching here, especially at nighttime, with some of the more like intimate areas that I go to, it's a little off road. You got to walk sometimes. Keep in mind, George Mapp is like 70 something years old. So, I got to think about that aspect, but also sometimes people freak out. And I didn't want, one of the crew or somebody to like run off because it changes. The landscape totally changes at nighttime. And the
Hmm.
last thing I need is somebody to run off of a cliff or something like that. I don't need that. So we looked at Sky South Mountain. That was the first one. We weren't able to get the permits for that. So I was like, you know what? Let me take them to my location. It was seeming to just kind of like work out that way. And so within a week, we get it all set up. Like we pick a day. We had to set it up with the mining company. If you're familiar with Phoenix, there's a Black Mountain BMX. So I'll give you guys a little insight where we actually shot that Netflix series is the same location that's in Aliens Uncovered ET or Man Made, the BMX location. So like we were right there. And if you've seen that first chapter of my documentary series, you know that I filmed a black triangle, clear as day, in that area. So there was a lot of stuff that goes on in that area. I've seen some things filming, Black Mountain, the races at Black Mountain. So I knew it was a hot spot, but it's a little bit, it's mining area. So it's not paved. You got to go off road a little bit. So we went out there and they didn't actually, well, they couldn't put this on because the cameras weren't out yet. But as soon as we get out there and we're like, the cameras aren't up, no sound, we're just getting into the shaking hands and introductions. I just meet George. And as I turn back and I start walking west, I notice like a looked like an orb. It was way out in the distance. And I'm like focused on it and I see it. It's not a plane, there's no aviation lights. All right, hey guys, something's coming. Now, normally, um, I have my cameras out, so I can't be a spotter when you do like sky watches here. You have to have your cameras. You're running your cameras. You're typically behind the LCD screen, so you can't the light. But if you're a spotter, you're not in the lighting, and so I'm seeing it, and it's coming, but I can't take my eyes off it because I don't know if anybody else. So I'm yelling, "Hey guys, there's something coming! There's something coming! It's getting closer! It's getting closer! Now we can like clearly see it, and it's almost above our heads." And I noticed that the Netflix, all of the team, they're kind of like eyes on it behind me, and we're watching. And I'm yelling for Tom, get the cameras out, get the cameras out, get the camera. Tom didn't. Nobody had the time to get the cameras out. We don't just have a kind of system where you can just point and turn it on. We got to set the stuff up, batteries, expensive stuff. So it gets like right above us, and then it just hooks and goes north. And kind of like the Phoenix Lights, because I'm so used to this. It's I know what to expect, especially with the time frames that we go out there. But I look down at everybody and they're just in awe. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, did that just really happen? I'm like, oh, this is why I come out here. So and then not only that, there was a lot of stuff. That was probably 90 to 100% sure. That was definitely something that couldn't be explained. But there was a lot of stuff that was going on during that episode, and they left such a cliffhanger for you guys that I hope there's another season. But there was so much stuff that was going on in the sky that night. I mean, George Knapp really toughed it out. We were out there 2.5, 3 hours, middle of the desert. It's December. You know what I mean? He's out
Oh,
there
so
figuring it
it
out too.
drops like a rock out there.
What'd you say?
The temperature dropped like a rock at night.
Oh yeah, especially when you're away from the concrete in the city. That's the
Oh
one
yeah.
thing about the desert. It really changes. Once that sunfall, the solar winds pick up, it's already 15 degrees cooler out there in that raw desert anyway. And I mean, nobody was complaining. Don't get me wrong, it was cold after a while, but everybody toughed it out. We had, and I sent some of the behind the scene photos to you, and you seen how those images were. It was an entire crew, it was a tight crew. It was just a great time. And then, George Knapp was out there. It just so happened to be Netflix, you know what I mean? But it was just an experience that they got to, they were looking for a UFO hunt and wanting to see something. And then, it actually happened. That was the cool part about it. And then, talking with George Knapp, Tom King had mentioned to him that I am the Sky Harbor witness that was there that night. I was 15 years old. My grandmother had gotten me that job. I was underage, but she was somebody of importance in the city. So, she got me the job, and I had been working there since the summer of '96. I was living with her, and that night in specific, I mean, when I look back at it, like Arizona, things happen here for a reason, So the bus at the time, it's known as the Red Line bus. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a bus that paranormal.
There's our friend, by the way. On Tom's here.
Oh, that's my man Tom King. Tom, there he is. Shout out to Tom King. Like I said, he's the reason why Netflix didn't come out and find me. It's because of Tom King. So he is the man right there that set it up for me, and forever grateful for him doing that. And we, I was telling him we were a little worried that we weren't going to get too much airtime. And there was a big story that they cut out. I was surprised they cut it out and gave us so much airtime, but we were a little worried. But I had to think about it. I'm like, man, it's two dudes sitting out here sky watching, and people can come out here and enjoy it. We're not going to charge you an arm and a leg, and we're gonna not only see some things, but you're gonna learn a lot of stuff about the area and everything that's just with the Phoenix history. And there's so much here. So shout out to Tom King. He is, definitely, like I said, the reason. But back to the Phoenix Light story. That night, the Red Line bus, it was late. So when it does show up, it gets there. I get on. Keep in mind, 15 years old. I look at it now as a kid or as an adult. I was a disciplined teenager for 15. I was catching the bus, going to school. Grades were good. Making money. I'm thinking about girls and my money and what I'm gonna do on the weekend. Go to the mall, hang out at Mill Avenue. So the UFOs is just not something that I'm thinking about. But I get on the bus. And the routine. I had a clip-on tie. I couldn't tie ties yet. So I'd take off the clip-off tie, unbutton, take my shoes off, put my feet up on the wheel well, and then I put my back, on the back of the bus because that's where the engine is. And it was like a massage chair for me all the way home. But this night in specific, I'm sitting there, and the windows, you got the massive windows right here. So you come out of the airport and you're on Buckeye. And I believe it's 16th Street. I'm pretty sure it's 16th Street where you make a right-hand turn and start to head north. So I'm sitting in the back, and I noticed at that time I thought was helicopters. And that was immediately off to me because for helicopters to be, that's the immediate flight path, like right as they're coming in and landing specifically. I mean, they're right there. So that means that flights are delayed. They're sitting up in the sky. But something serious had to have been going on in order for the helicopters to be there. So I just, immediately knew that that was off. So I'm looking to try to figure out what's going on. The bus turns and makes a right, and maybe about 1,000 feet, could be off a little bit, but there's a bridge that goes over the old Amtrak tracks, and then there's the old station over there. So I'm looking, and now as the bus turns, I see 5 lights, and no idea what I'm looking at now. Clearly, it's not helicopters, but we're driving north, and then I notice we're elevated and we're a little bit higher up, but I'm seeing this traveling south very slow. Um, and I'm not sure if my reaction got the attention of others on the bus, but we go when you're on that red line bus, and that route doesn't exist anymore. But when you go north, it's a very short distance. You go over to Amtrak and you maybe cross like one or two lights. This is somewhat like downtown industrial area. So the lights are very close and compact to one another. So you go over the bridge, you pass one light, a next light, and then you're making a left turn to start heading towards downtown. So that happens so quickly, we stop, and now we all get off the bus. Even the bus driver, we all get off, and we're looking at this. I even till this day, I don't want to say it was a single object, because when I was looking at it, you can see space in between, but the space in between the distance of the lights was distorted. It was, you could see the stars, but it was just, and it was, this is a clear sky. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
The hazy kind of.
it wasn't even hazy. I mean,
No, it's Phoenix. It's this
it was
desert air.
clear.
The
This is
desert
clear.
air.
This is
Everything
springtime.
was, yeah.
I mean, this is a different Phoenix, Arizona, you know. But I'm watching this thing. We're watching it, and you could see there was something there, but I could see through it, in through the distance. So it travels south, like a southeastern projection, and I mean, maybe 7 minutes we were out there, 5 to 7 minutes after we had gotten off. And then what really got me is funny, because I just heard dogs barking now. Um, so I'm looking, and then I hear the sound of dogs, and that draws me from this focus to look down. And once again, the area itself, there's no neighborhoods, or there wouldn't be any reason for dogs barking, is what I'm getting at. But I looked down and I could hear dogs barking, but I didn't see any dogs. And I look over, and I see people just looking up, and it's in the distance now. And eventually it was like everybody snapped out of it. And the weird part about it, somebody made me realize this. When we got on the bus, we didn't talk about what we saw. It was just back to our normal routine. And from the time I got back on the bus, we go downtown, we head north to Thomas. Now, when I would get off on Thomas, there was this other bus called the Blue Line. And the Blue Line, if it was on time, sometimes I would catch it, sometimes I wouldn't. So I was already late. There was no other buses. This is a different Phoenix. Everything shut down in 97, probably about 9 o'clock, especially on a Thursday. So there was no bus. I had to walk home from Central and Thomas to about 14th Street in Thomas, which is, I mean, for a 15-year-old kid with fresh knees, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops, you know what I mean? Maybe 30.
Yeah.
So I get off. I know the bus isn't coming. So I start walking. Keep in mind, I've forgotten about everything that I saw until I got to about 7th Street. When I got to 7th Street, even though the city is shut down, you look both ways. You just don't walk out into a main busy intersection. So I'm walking east. I look north, look south, and that's when I remember, oh my God. But not only that, now there's another set of lights. Now they're southwest. And if you're familiar, have you guys been to Phoenix before?
I have several
Okay.
times.
So you know about the South Mountain Tower lights on South Mountain when you look
Yeah.
south, right? So there's
Yeah.
only certain roads that line up in Phoenix to where you can be on the north side of town, Happy Valley, and see straight down into the bowl, and then you'll see the dip and the incline going back up to South Mountain. 7th Street is one of those streets where it's like it lines up almost perfect with the South Mountain Tower, the red lights up there. So I look and I see a set of lights, but I'm also remembering, oh my God, this just happened. So I'm like, is this the same thing? I'm not really sure, but what I do know is the color was different. And there was like a string like going in, south, in. You know what I mean? It's weird to explain. So I'm watching it, and now I'm like, okay, I got to get home to my grandmother now because she has to see this. Um, so between 7th Street to 14th Street, that's no timing at all. I get home. Um, she had a prosthetic leg, bless her heart. And I'm like, you got to come out here and take a look at this. There's some lights in the sky, So she gets her prosthetic leg on. She's got her gown on and everything, and she comes out, and we're okay. Hold on, baby, and we're watching this, and that's the end game of it. But the one thing that she said that I never forget, um, even now, she told me, and my grandma, like I said, she was somebody that was she was important in Phoenix, and she said, nobody is smart enough to make these movies, and she was the type of woman that she never worked, but she always had everything. She was politically very deep in politics. And for her to say something like that, I mean, this is somebody that knew President Carter. She told me a story about President Carter, but she knew President Carter. She knew other presidents. Growing up as a kid, I would come home and there'd be governors and mayors like sitting in my living room. You know what I'm saying? Like it was an everyday thing as a child growing up. So, just to hear her say that, and like now I think about it and I just wish that I had asked more questions, but I wonder what she knew, and some of her experiences because she was around the government and stuff like that. So, but yeah, she said that she was very direct. A lot of these people aren't smart enough to make these movies. And that's something that I still think about till this day. Like, what was she? What was she trying to say? But yeah, that was my Phoenix Lights experience. I've always talked about it. I just, I never thought that it would come to this. You know what I mean? Like it was just a UFO event that happened. But as it grew and then, got older, I moved away and came back. And, it was an important event in ufology that it brought Tom King and I together. I've met countless people just with like-minded individuals. We sometimes have a sky watch on the anniversary. Weren't able to do it this year because it was extremely cloudy. But now we have a group, a team of people. We go out, we invite people out. It's normally small groups of people, but that's kind of how you want it when it comes to the thought process and
Right.
things like that. So yeah, I mean, this is something that's turned into it and it's growing. That's the thing, but it's just turned into so much where I've met people that I probably wouldn't have met, if it wasn't for these events and things like that.
So one of the things you mentioned in your episode, I'd like for you to relate that to our audience, which is the traffic pattern at Sky Harbor was unusual.
Yeah, the air traffic. So one of the things that you learn indirectly when especially at Sky Harbor Airport, you learn how the flights come in, and then the direction in which they take off. Keep in mind, this is a different Arizona. This is a different time. So used to be able to walk your family members down to the gate and wave them off, watch them get on and board the plane, right? Um, so I had a little hustle, right? Pushing wheelchairs, you'd get small tips, so you had to find a way to make good money. So one of my hustles was um, I found out that drunk people, they don't like to wait in line, especially on the Friday, they're running late. So I had this little hustle where I would catch like drunk people Thursday, Fridays, busy days. And back then, wheelchairs were held at a higher regard than somebody that had a baby or anything like that. So if I would see them and they'd be all irritated and be like, hey, look, I could get you up to the gate, this, that, da, da, da. It's like an express service. You just name your price. And I would get like 40, 50, sometimes $100 a chair.
Wow.
So I mean, at 15 years old, like I said, I was making good money. I mean, 250, 350 a night pushing wheelchairs at the airport. But we would push them down, down the runway, and then of course the plane. So when you would watch the plane leave, or even when you would see the direction that the plane would taxi and then take off. So when they take off and land, it's always east to west, always east to, never north to south. So when that thing flew over the airport, I remember once again these helicopters. Like I thought they were helicopters. This is going to stop the air traffic, and there's going to be a lot of pissed off people in the air because this is serious. So thinking that those were helicopters, and then looking in the sky to see if there were planes. Now, I got good eyesight. There were no planes that weren't even in the taxi areas. So if you live like on the southeast side, or if you live anywhere near the airport, kind of like Hyde, you can hear the planes. You'll see them waiting to land or as they take off in the routes. It was, I mean, clear skies, clear skies. And it was really the day after. My job, it was very relaxed. As long as you got your job done, there was no like they would call for a wheelchair, the ticket agents would call, and if you were slacking, they'd call a second, a third time, C2, you're going to hear that. And your manager's like, what's going on? So we were always on top of our job. So our manager never, his name was James Hall. He never had to like watch over us or babysit us. So I remember even like the next day or even days after, it was very tight ship. I mean, everybody, it was P's and Q's, vest. I mean, we were just on top of it. And I don't know what was relayed to him, but I've never seen him move around that much because he was an older gentleman, probably 60s at that time. And he had like a bad ankle or a bad knee or something. But I remember seeing him up and about, walkie-talkie, always on the walkie-talkies, the sky caps with the carts and stuff like that. I mean, they were just all over the place. You know what I mean? And like looking back keep in mind, I'm 15 years old at that time. I don't care. I'm just ready to get this money and then, go hang out with my friends on the weekend, go to the mall, and I don't care.
My,
So
my, la- my last question on this is before I let my girlfriend get one in so she
there you go.
doesn't
Go
knock my
ahead.
block off. It is, was it your perception that they had shut down the airspace when all this was going on?
Because I didn't see any air traffic, I believe that is what happened. Um, the one person that I would really love to sit down and talk with is Kurt Russell. Because and Tom's got a lot of the information. So Tom, if you're watching, you can fill me in on this, but it's almost like Kurt Russell was the only person that was in the air as this was going on outside of the Cessna that almost crashed into it up in Prescott. But I would love to sit down and talk with him to see which time event, because there's the 8 o'clock and then there's like your 9:45, 10 o'clock. And I would like to sit down and see the timestamps in his book as to which event that he saw. Because I don't think he's ever broken that down and said, well, yes, I saw the 8 o'clock, or I don't know. And Tom would know. Tom is one of the people that would know. But yeah, I would like to sit down and talk with him because like that Cessna, he flew past it. Not only that, his son saw it. So yeah, I mean, I would, if I look back at it, I think that it's a strong possibility that they actually shut the air traffic down.
Okay. Did you see any traffic at all that you could identify came from Luke Air Force Base?
A great question. So that's one thing that I thought about because before Tom King confirmed it, I always questioned the F-14s. I was on the bus. We cut through downtown. The sound is going to echo through the buildings, because Luke Air Force Base, it's on Camelback. If you take Camelback straight out, I believe it's on Camelback West. So Camelback is north of Thomas, in downtown. So that's probably 7 miles south. So they would have had to cut over downtown or at least the south side of Phoenix. And I would have heard that. But remembering, I had a Discman on. I always had a Discman because I would get on the bus, and those bus rides back then, I mean, coming from, I was on Thomas, but I was going to school, so those bus rides would be 30, 40, sometimes an hour, you know what I mean? So I had a Discman. So that's probably why I didn't hear the F-14s, because of the Discman. And that's probably why I don't remember if my reactions actually got the people to like stand up. Because like imagine sitting on the bus and then some kids like, yo, what is that? You look over, you see him, he's got on headphones, but he's looking out the window. I probably couldn't even hear what the hell they were saying to me, but looking out the window. So that was,
So let me tell you, if the F-14s had been low and they were in afterburner, you wouldn't have needed to pull the heads off. You'd have felt it pounding in your chest if you've
yeah,
ever been close to them.
I don't remember. That's one thing that I honestly, I do not remember. I do not remember F-14s, but it happened. And looking back at it, I said, somebody made me think. It makes me wonder if we were all under some sort of like hypnotic
Right.
state while we
Yep.
were on that bus, because I distinctively remember being on 7th Street in Thomas and looking south and like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Completely forgot about it. So yeah, I don't remember that, but there's some factors in there that, make me want to go back and, try to revisit that. But no, I don't remember hearing the vibration, because you're right, man, especially downtown close like that. Not as many people. It's a quiet city at 9, 8. It's quiet.
Mhm.
I would have
Especially if
heard.
the thing was over controlled airspace, which many reports it came over the end of the runway, which is controlled airspace. If Luke was up, you'd have felt it, and I promise you, you would have remembered it, because those, if they've got afterburners on, it'll hurt. It hits your chest so hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
So Tom's got some remarks here. Two ATC guys went on tape, said nothing about it being shut down, and he claims that's nearly impossible. And Cat's right. At F-14 and afterburner low, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember F-14s. I don't remember hearing them. And that was a part of the story that I didn't believe until I talked with Tom, and Tom confirmed it. Well, there was another conversation that I had with somebody about the Prescott incident, but I do not remember F-14s. And that was a part of the story that I didn't believe until I talked to Tom King.
I remember I saw something similar over my parents' house, so close they could have touched the roof. And my dad actually saw it too. I was helping. It was at night. I was helping him take the trash out in Florida. This is maybe 8 years ago. And I got this weird feeling. I looked up and I saw one by one. It was huge orange orbs, and they went into. There's five of them, and they went to the shape of a V, but still separated. And I said, Dad, look, because we were best friends. He liked all that kind of stuff. And he looks right up at him, and very robotically, he says, I said, do you see it? He goes, no, robotically. He turns around, walks in the house, does not come back in. That was unlike him. He always helped me with everything. And I looked back up at him, and one by one, they went away. And I don't remember the rest of the night. Me and him never talked about it, which was weird because, I mean, we talked about all kinds of weird stuff. And like you were talking about, we just didn't bring it up. It's just so strange that these things happen like that. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, it's like it's it. I mean, I don't, you say things like memory erasing or some sort of like programming or something, and is the experience so shocking that we automatically just try to erase. And I've seen what, something similar to what you said. I was on a cruise ship with my daughter's mother, and we saw a light come out of it. We were in the Mediterranean, and a light came out, went up. We're sitting on the deck. It's nighttime. We're on the balcony watching this, drinking wine, and we see it happen. It goes back into the water. I look over at her, and she's just like in awe. So maybe a day or two later, probably the next day, we're on the cruise ship, and I'm like, "Hey, did you guys happen to some other people? Did you guys happen to see some weird lights?" And they kind of were like looking crazy. Knowing my ex saw it, she denied the whole thing happened. And I'm like,
Oh,
what? Huh? Yeah, she denied the entire thing, and she saw other events too that she just had a trouble wrapping her brain around it. And the best thing for her was to say that it didn't happen, knowing we saw it, But 1 second, baby. Okay, bring it here. I'm sorry, I got my daughter here. She
that's
wants.
okay. You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it. This is very informal. I just wanted to tell you that after the V-shaped thing went over her parents' house, and her dad went inside, and then they started going off, and boom, she has about an hour of missing time.
Well, that night?
Yeah.
Well, I just remember waking up the next morning in my bed. I don't remember anything else, honestly.
Wow.
But my question is, do you think that you have been abducted? And do you think that they show up for you because of maybe like a bloodline, or there's something about you?
Abduction. I haven't done any abduction. I'm good friends with Daryl Sims. I actually introduced him to Tom, and we shot some footage over there. He's into abduction. I'm not sure if I've been abducted. I do have strange marks, hole on my ears. I got these holes, and my mom said I've had them since birth. But these holes, and you would think that, if it was like a piercing or something, you'd see like the marking on the other side. But I got these holes. Um, if it has to do with bloodline, I would think that's more along the lines of where you're going. I think it would be more of like a genetic memory or history or something like that. But um, once you have an event and you process it a certain way, it doesn't stop. It really doesn't. And listening to what you said with your event, you went outside, you took the trash out, and you just so happened to look up. I've learned through my investigations that one, they come when your thoughts are clear, but people that smoke cigarettes, right? What they're thinking is they want to hit that cigarette and that's it. They don't care about anything else.
Right.
And in the moment they hit the cigarette, they got what they're looking for. They're inhaling, they close their eyes. I've been a cigarette smoker. A lot of the times I've seen UFOs. Oh, there it is. But
Yeah.
that clear thought. So you probably just taking out the trash, not even thinking about anything else.
I was smoking cigarettes.
There you go. See? And bam, throw it up. And we see these things and they happen. But it's after you see it and maybe you make the choice to continue to see it, they continue to show themselves. Because I got video footage of things that I just cannot explain. I've got stories that I've never talked about because I don't have the video footage to back it up. But also, I think it's the land. There's something about Arizona. Maybe one day, I don't know if you have Tom on, but Tom will tell you his story. That
No, we'll get Tom on. We'll
yeah,
get
you
him on.
get Tom on, but he has a
I got to
story.
pick his brain as much as yours.
Yeah, but I just see Tom. He said the comment about the ears, but like, this is something that brings people together.
Right.
That there's none of the bull that we have to deal with, the racism, the politics. I mean, we come out and we've got people that are from all different walks of life who do. Everybody is a unique individual. And there's something here. We're trying to figure this out now. Tom and I were a part of our group, our Arizona Recon Research team, but we're trying to figure it out because there's something. There's a reason why we were brought together. There's a reason why this push. You know what I mean? There's a reason why we're able to get out here and create StreamYards now to tell our stories. And you got all these different platforms to where you can push your stuff and get your information out there because it's not as controlled anymore. But there's a reason why this is all happening and falling into place. So yeah, I think it would be more of like, your genetic memory, your genetic history, and then just what you are as a makeup.
Right. I agree, definitely. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So, Tom, we'll contact you and get you on. And Kat said, I think every experiencer should have some recording device to collect data, and I'm working on it. So I have two, but I'm trying to do some others. I want people to be able to record data that has nothing to do with anything except did something actually physically happen that you can measure when you have. So just tell you right now, we've got this MADAR device over here, and we have had several things occur around us because we have stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And on those days, that MADAR device alerted hundreds of times while we were having orbs and craft and other stuff in our area.
Roof lights up.
Roof lights up, all sorts of weird stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's that. And I want to also tell you, I've had some experiences in Arizona because I'm friends with Melinda Leslie, and okay. I go up to Sedona, Arizona, and her weird stuff happens all the time. Every time she goes out. That, and we have our own weird stuff. It's just really interesting. See if you can get it to focus.
Yeah, we have Arizona. There's, I mean, when you look at, and I put this in my one of my documentaries, I can't remember which one it was, but through investigation and studies, I've learned that Phoenix, Arizona sits on the 33rd parallel. And, if you know about Mount Hermon, and that is where the transfiguration of Jesus occurred. That is where it's said to believe, and we're looking at apocryphal text now, where the angels would come to and from earth. That was their gateway. Well, on the other side of Mount Hermon, on the other side of the world, is Roswell, New Mexico, and it sits right on the 33rd parallel. You look at the Superstition Mountains, in specific, the 33rd.3. Superstition Mountains also sits on the 33rd.3. Phoenix, Arizona sits on the 33rd.3. San Diego sits on the 33rd parallel. So even a lot of the wars, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, they're like right there on the 33rd parallel. So there's something involving the 33rd parallel, which is a mountainous line of energy. I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't figured that out, but there's a connection to the 33rd parallel and all of these cities that are attached there. So yeah, I mean, there's patterns, and we're just all putting these pieces together and trying to connect the story and figure it out. And I don't know if it'll be our lifetime, but we just got to do the work that we can.
That's exactly what we're doing. We had a visitation. It walked up on us in the yard, like we were out in Las Vegas. The thing walk up in the yard. We had one walk up in the yard and tell us to get on with what we were supposed to be doing. Yeah, she took a picture of it. We have a photo.
We didn't see it with our eyes.
No, but she took a picture of it. Yeah. And then it talked to her telepathically. This picture is pretty wild. Anyway, so before we forget about it, that's not the only interesting story you have to tell me tonight. Because I grew up right around the Vietnam War and Richard Nixon, and I have had more green smoke in my lungs than you can imagine. And I love Cheech and Chong. So you got to tell us how you know Tommy Chong.
So that happened. Wow. Now we're looking at 2015, 2016, right? Really probably earlier, but I met him in 2016. So I am still, I do photography. So that's how I got started. That's how I was telling my stories through pictures and things like that. I started my own business. And my first client was ESPN First Take. Really, what they weren't even a client in 2015. I had found out that they were shooting at the McCormick Ranch, so I took a camera out there, took all these photos, and had a I was so the camera I have has had a LCD screen that turned LED screen that turned, and I'm on the set and I'm taking these pictures and I had the camera up in the air, and these two guys behind me. One of them was like, "Hey, those are nice pictures." So I give them my business cards. Come to find out, it was one of them was the producer of ESPN First Take.
Oh my God.
So the next day,
Nice.
I'm there at like 5 in the morning. I went there the whole week. I showed up 5 in the morning because I noticed they didn't have still photography. So he sees me and he pulls me from the crowd. He's like, "Hey, this is what I want you to do." He gave me the media pass, get these shots, these shots. So now I'm behind the scenes. Long story short, by the end of the week, the guy hands me a $2,000 check. So I'm like,
Oh,
nice,
Yeah.
right? So fast forward to 2016 now. This is the summer of 2016. I'm shooting BMX, but uh, I have a little bit of leeway with this ESPN First Take because they paid me that. So I select or I'm somebody reaches out to me and they say, "Hey, uh, we have this job coming up. Tommy Chong's going to be here. We just want you to do photography and video." So I submit my images. They love the BMX images. This is what I got paid when I shot with ESPN First Take. So that combination really solidified them for picking me for the Tommy Chong job. So I meet his representatives, and how it all started, I had did my research on Tommy Chong, and I had learned that there's a reason why a lot of his photos and pictures and even video is from the waist up. So I present that information to his representatives, and they're just like blown away, like, "Oh my God, you've done that type of." Okay. So like they relay it to Tommy Chong. The day of the shoot comes, I get to we show up, it's a grow facility. And
nice.
so in the grow facility, there's no smoking, nothing like that. Now, keep in mind, this is technically my first big job, but it's Tommy Chong and I'm nervous. So the whole night I'm sitting there thinking, like, am I going to smoke with him? Like, I was questioning myself. What am I going to do? I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to get too stoned. I lost sleep over this. So the next day we're at the grow. Tommy Chong gets there. Oh my God, it's Tommy Chong. He's standing around. He's like, "Are we going to smoke?" And they had made sure they said it. No smoking, no smoking, no smoking, no smoking. The moment Tommy Chong gets in there, that questions what's going to happen. So he gets in there and he's like, "Are we going to smoke?" And I might even have that on video. Like he lights it and passes it. So I'm getting the footage and I'm avoiding it as much as I can. I'm like, no, I made the decision. So at one point, I'm his photographer. I'm next to him. And Tommy Chong passes me a joint. And I
Wow.
looked over and I was like, I smoke, but because of the magnitude of what needs to be captured, there's 3 events. We're going to be around you 12 hours today. I can't smoke. Not going to do it. It's the business thing. And like he looks at me and he pulls me in. Hold on, baby. He pulls me in and he's like, when Tommy Chong passes you a joint, you hit it. And that was like, okay, this is cool. And from that moment on, it took me a second because I got this. I got Tommy Chong, the individual, the person. And let me be clear, that's not an act. That is who he is. In every movie, every comedy special you've seen, that is him 100%. So I'm sitting there talking, and I mean, we're shoulder to shoulder. And he's just sharing these stories, and he's telling me about the first time he smoked a joint. It was in a black jazz club. And then he's telling me about his kids and the black community. And then it clicks. Oh my God, Tommy Chong has, I mean, dude, he's got black kids. Yeah, like he's telling me, like, oh my God, he's been a supporter of the black community for how long? Like, I'm so deep into my thoughts with this. I'm not even real. So after that moment, I mean, Tommy was just, I mean, we were shoulder to shoulder laughing. There was one point where they couldn't find. So we did the grow facility. And then after that, we went to his hotel. He did an interview with the Phoenix New Times. And he did another, with a radio show that I was on. And then we had this massive house party, nighttime house party. And they couldn't find it. It was like in Cave Creek, a real rich area of the outskirts of Phoenix. So I'm in the photo in the area taking pictures. Keep in mind, I had met his representatives earlier. So I had gotten all their personal information. They had gotten mine. They couldn't find the party. They couldn't get a host of the party, get a hold of the host. So I get a text message. Hey, we can't find the party. Can you help us? Not a problem. I stop shooting, filming. I go outside. It's nighttime, completely dark. And I'm standing in the middle of the road with them on the phone. And eventually, the car pulls up, street lights, hey, we're here. So like that relationship just grew and grew over a certain period of time, very short period of time. But then I had all this movie film footage that we had to turn in. So fast forward, I was working for a cannabis company. I did their social media. We released Chong's Choice, which was his brand at the time. It was a partnership. And we released that. We sent this video to his daughter. I still own the footage, but they were going to use it for a documentary. Anyway, the footage doesn't get used. Now I'm in film. And Beat Street. And I'm in film now. I'm like, oh my God, I got all this footage of Tommy Chong and I own it. His daughter didn't use the footage, so I can use the footage. So also, I had Tommy Chong's phone number because they called me. So one day, once again, just thinking about it, I probably sat there for about a half a day. Like, should I call him and ask him? Should I call him? Finally, I worked up the courage and called him and asked him. And he remembered me. He looked at my work. He saw what I was doing. So now he speaks. He has a speaking part in Aliens Uncovered Origins and right at the beginning. And then in Aliens Uncovered Borrowed Time, I talk about what I just told you, which was that job, what I was doing. And I got the permission to show where I had a crew member with me and they're running and filming the camera as he's walking past and you see me in the background taking pictures of him and flashing. So, I had to call him and get all the permission through him. But now it's pretty much like, direct line, like on the phone. I'm looking at you out right now, shoot him a text when you come into Phoenix. I just messaged him about a month ago because I do want to use the footage that I have in a cannabis documentary. So, we're going to work out the plans to do that. But, he's wrapping it up right now. So, he is a living legend and that's how I got to meet and know Tommy Chong.
We totally dominated the hour with asking you questions. Now, look, you got to tell the audience what you're doing and where they can catch you or whatever you got going on. And please come back on, Clive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you and Tom can come together or separately, whatever. It'll be great.
Yeah. You know what, and like I said, Tom's watching. So, I definitely want to see, because this is how we grow the community. But yeah, right now, you can Aliens Uncovered. That is the ufology, the UFO series. There's all 20 of them are completed. All 20 are not out. Tom is in 4 or 5 of them. We're doing research. We are a solid team of, UFO, not only UFO researchers, but investigators here in Arizona. 1 second, 5 minutes, baby. But Aliens Uncovered right now can be found on Tubi for free. If you don't like commercials, you can watch it on Prime, Apple TV. We release exclusively to Apple TV. And then we've got some, if you're paying attention already, you already know we've made a really cool discovery. We got this area in Phoenix where it just seems to be like a UFO hotspot. I mean, we literally have footage, a 40-second clip, and you speed it up and you just see it's like a trans. It's so crazy. It's like I can't even, but it's like a real busy intersection of just activity, satellites and this and that, lights flashing, orbs on the ground level. We're showing orbs actually on the ground level. A buddy of ours named Chris, he filmed this blue orb that none of us can figure out what it is. And these are, all of this stuff is in the footage. It's in the documentaries. Aliens Uncovered. We're on Tubi. I mean, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. You know.
Well,
So,
what's this? Tom said something interesting, so let me show you something. This is a software-defined radio that I know a lot about, and on it, I have written passive radar. So you don't need a license because it uses signals that are in the environment, like high-powered television, high-powered FM. Those signals bounce off whatever's in the sky, and you resolve it with mathematics on your computer using that thing. So I'll talk to you and Tom about it later.
Yeah,
anyway,
talk to Tom.
I don't want to take up your time with that.
He's been stressing out. Tom's been stressing out about. That's why you see process to use legally. That is huge right there. But
you don't need a license to use a passive radar because it doesn't transmit.
Talk to him because he like I said, he is upgrading. I mean, every time, Tom, I'm putting you on the spot, okay? Every time I get on the phone with Tom, yeah, there you go, $9,000.
Too late.
We get on the phone. He has bought a new piece of equipment, and that's just Tom. That's it. That's his engineer. He wants to really figure this out. The data, he wants to be able to provide it because he understands how important this is, right, for the future generations. So he is involved with Aliens Uncovered. We've got other stuff. We're working on some, I don't want to get too deep in that, but we're working on some major network stuff. So, but yeah, Aliens Uncovered, Google search Aliens Uncovered, the series, and there's 20 of them. They're all titled Aliens Uncovered. There's E.T. or Man-Made, Origins, The Golden Record, Borrowed Time. Which one?
The Giants. I want to watch
Giant. Oh, are you talking about? Hold on. Are you talking about that one's not a part of the Aliens Uncovered series? That just came out.
Want to see it.
So we have one. It's not a part of the Aliens Uncovered series. It's the Kandahar Giant. So I interviewed somebody who just so happened to know one of those Army Rangers that was there. His name is Steve Campbell. And he knows. So Arizona is a place, I know we're running out of time, but Arizona is a place where you'll meet somebody and they'll wait to see if you're going to say something. And then they'll tell you who they are and what it is that they do. And then, it's kind of up to you to, do you want to be this whistleblower or do you want to protect this person's information, their job, their retirement, their friendship? So we know people that are in those buildings, but it takes time for them to want to talk. And Steve knows a guy that was at Kandahar, and Steve told the story for him. But that one's Kandahar Giants. It's like Fallen Angels. I got so many movies. I'll have to send you guys the list. I'm forgetting the titles.
I got it.
So I'll tell you offline after we go sometime about me doing a slam dunk landing in the dark with no lights on the airplane in Kandahar. Oh yeah.
So you were there.
All right, look, Clive, it was so awesome. I am so glad we met. This is a
Thank
great.
you for having me.
Yeah, man, you're awesome. And I can't wait. I can't wait to get you and Tom King on. Let's go crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care.
Yes, and everybody, please look out for our announcement of our shows next week. Clive is the last one for this week. We've got a busy weekend, but we'll be back next Tuesday with more shows. Thank you all for showing up and saying, giving our guest a great show. Thank you, Clive, so much.
Thank you.